Hi, I'm David with Appliance, and this right here is our Whirlpool top load washer. One of the best ones out there. It's a little bit old, but it's the oldies are the goodies. Let's get started on it. Okay, we're gonna start by taking off this cover. Got two screws back here. Pop up this component. You have a wire harness you gotta disconnect and two clips. Just with a flathead screwdriver. And then you're ready to take it off. Lean it forward, and kind of pull it forward from the bottom, and then set it off to the side. Now you have access to your whole machine. How this washer works. So you have your timer unit, which is right here, control what if you want light, regular, heavy. You have your temperature switch right here. This will control how hot or cold you want your water. And then you have a pressure switch right here. This pressure switch will control how much water is filled up in your unit. And how that works is you have a pressure hose that will come down along the side of your unit and go to near the bottom of the outer tub. From right there, when the water's filling up, it's building air pressure up into here and will kind of expand the diagram to what level you have it set at. Your timer right here, this is your brains of the whole washer. This guy will send power to where it needs to go. It will control, it'll know if the lid switch is closed or open, for the power to go down to the motor, to have it run into what direction to go. It will tell it to do everything. This right here is your funnel for your water. So this will fill all your water directly into your basket. If you have water leaking on the outside of your unit, it could be that this is cracked and spraying it out. Just like you do on a hose, if you put your thumb over the top, it kind of shoots it all different directions if it's not working correctly. Okay, right here is your pressure switch hose that goes down to a little box. This pressure switch hose goes up to your pressure switch that's up at the top that controls how much water is filled into your unit. If you have your unit set on small and it's still filling really high, there is a possibility that this hose is either clogged, has a hole in it, or that switch is bad. It should always go to around the same level depending on what setting you have it set on. Right here is your water valve. So your water right here is connected to your house. From your house, it connects to your unit. This is your hot and cold. So it will send whatever your timer up here is saying when to fill it. It'll send power down to your valve, open up the valve, send water through this black tube into your funnel that goes into your tub. Also, your temperature switch will talk to your timer to tell what one to open at its time. So the power will come from your timer down to your valve and send 110 to open up the valve to allow that temperature of water to go in and fill up your unit to whatever your pressure switch is wanting to fill it up at. This right here is your capacitor. It helps start your motor that is down here to get going. Okay, let's go over the stuff that is underneath your washer doing all the magic work. Right here we have your pump. This pump is a mechanical pump. There is no electrical to it. It will spin as your motor is spinning in the direction to flow it out. So if your motor is going clockwise, it'll push your water out because it has little fins inside here. If it's going counterclockwise, then it's gonna just flow it back and bubble into your unit and not actually drain it out. Let's take that off and go in deeper. So this plastic unit right here is your drain pump. This whole thing right here. Right there is where your motor shaft goes into and will spin a little fins inside to flow it where it needs to go. This is your motor unit right here. This is our big guy that runs everything. It'll agitate it, it'll run your transmission, it'll do whatever the timer is telling it to do. One direction will drain and spin, the other direction will agitate your unit. This is your wire harness that goes right up to your timer, so your timer can send the power down to it. Let's take off the motor and show you what's behind the motor. There's your motor. On one side of the motor is where your pump goes. On the other side of the motor, you have a coupling. Your coupling right here is one side of your coupling. This will link into the rubber part that sits between your transmission and your motor. Your coupling is one of the most common things that go bad on this washer. The other part of your coupling is right here on your transmission. On your transmission, it will turn one way to agitate, and the other way, go counterclockwise, it will unlock a brake and let it spin. So here is our transmission. This will get it to agitate, to spin, whatever it needs to do up top. Let's take it off and show you what is all on the transmission. First, make sure this wire harness is off so you're not pulling wires. We have to undo our agitator up top. So we'll take our agitator bolt out and then we'll take our agitator off. Flip it off to the side. Okay, now we can tilt it back. After we've taken the agitator off, we can take off these 3 bolts. Or the 2, I didn't have the 3rd one. This is our transmission. This is our clutch assembly. This is what releases the brake that is up here. This is our brake up here. It will make it so it can't spin until it is released. This is the unit that releases that brake so it can spin. This brake is actually connected to your basket drive. The basket drive is connected to your inner tub. So once you release this big spring from the brake, the thing can spin and spin out your clothes. If it isn't spinning correctly and not getting fast enough or just barely trucking along, most of the time your clutch right here is not releasing this brake like it's supposed to. Okay, so one of the indicators knowing that this transmission is bad is when it's in spin, it's trying to agitate at the same time. So it's not going the one direction. It is going an opposite direction or the same direction, but then the agitator in the middle is trying to go back and forth while it's trying to spin. That's a good indication that your transmission's bad or if it's making some really bad noises during spin. So your lid switch is what this connector goes to. You got your wires, your open and close, goes along the side right here to this little switch box right here. From the top, you'll have a striker right here that has to activate it. Both of those have to work together and you should be able to hear a click when you shut it, up and down. Make sure you can hear that nice click. If you don't hear that click, it's most likely not going to spin for you. Okay, on the shell, you want to make sure this front part right here, this little lip, is caught on underneath here. Once you have that on there, make sure this is up. Let it slide back. Once you have that back in, get your 2 clips that you took off earlier, pop these right back in. Got those in, make sure you get this wire harness for your lid switch in there, and it clips. And then put your cover back on and screw your 2 screws in the back again. Okay, let's go over how to change a timer, the brains of the unit. So on this timer, you have to take off this knob first. The way to take off this knob, you'll see this little black tab right here. You got to make sure it is pulled out. Once it's pulled out like that, hold on to it or pull it out. And then you can take off the timer knob itself. Once that timer knob is off, you have a screw in there. And then just take off that screw. Once you have that screw removed, pop it back over, and you have a tab right here. This tab right here has to be released from locking. Once you have that, go ahead and push it forward. Once it's pushed forward, you can remove your whole timer. And then make sure you get that wire harness off. Just unclips off. And then you get your new timer. Kind of just reverse everything. Make sure you get that knob in there in the off position. Then you take the black locker and put it in. Make sure it clicks in there and stays in there and doesn't try to pop out at you. So it should stay in there and you should be able to move it all over. Make sure everything works and you can go up and down. And that's how you change the timer. So to put this motor back on, just put that guy down there. Make sure that our rubber part of our coupling, that open hole, is on the bottom. And then on your motor side, make sure that is on the bottom. Also make sure you have all 4 of these rubber connectors on there. And they'll go right into these holes. Once you got it in there, I like to clip the first part on the top. Clip that on, clip your bottom on. After you get both those in there, make sure you get that wire harness back on. Once you have your wire harness on, make sure that your pump is in the same direction as your motor shaft. Put that on there. Also, get your clips, put them back into your motor. Make sure they twist and clip on. And that's how you put it back together. Here is your dual agitator. Your bottom will go back and forth. Your top will catch and go only one direction. If it's not catching like it's supposed to, you have these things on the inside right here that are called agitator dogs. Let's show you what happens to those. Okay. So these guys right here are your agitator dogs, just little plastic things. They start rounding off and don't have the teeth to connect inside there. You can see little ridges. If they're not connected on there, this whole unit will just go back and forth. It won't turn like it's supposed to. And then it will not cycle your clothes around the whole drum like it is supposed to help clean. To change these, you just pop off this little retainer. Just kind of work yourself around. That thing slides off, and then each one comes out like this. You'll have 4 of them. They come in all different colors. But you just put them back in, make sure that they're going the right way and not flipped that way. Then it can't move. You want to make sure it's going in like that. And then just put that cover retainer back on. And then make sure you have the right side, the side with the grooves. Pop that back down in there. Don't forget your bolt. Always check that washer. Make sure that washer's doing good. And put that back down in there. Okay. And then slide this back down over. Once that's in, put that back in here. Put that down. Screw in your bolt. Put on your cover. Also make sure that this seal is nice and clean. That is what will seal off the fabric softener from going in there and creating a mess. Put that in there, clip that back on.